Hello, hi everybody, and welcome to Stargate to the Cosmos. Got a little feedback here in just a minute. I'm your host, Janet Care Lessin, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin, and you're listening to Stargate to the Cosmos on Revolution Radio, Studio B. Our producer is Thomas Becker, also known as a Mad Painter, and our guest today is Viviane Chauvet. Let me tell you a little bit about her before we bring her on. She is internationally interviewed. Her inspirational life story as a biological Arcturian hybrid cosmic ambassador, spiritual teacher, speaker, and interstellar conscious channel has touched the heart and soul of thousands of people worldwide. She has collaborated with J3 Films production cast and crew on the award-winning second documentary called Extraordinary, the Seeding, okay, as a hybrid consultant, and will be featured in their third upcoming documentary. Viviane is also listed as a practitioner in energy healing for the Disclosure Support Group. She's the owner of Infinite Healing from the Stars and co-owner of Energies of Service. Our successful holographic healing practice and intuitive consultation assists people from all backgrounds with transmuting past negative influences, restoring soul fragments from multiple timelines, achieving higher soul growth, and creating positive paradigm shifts in planetary consciousness. She's a conduit for higher intelligence at an inspiring level and a universal facilitator to restore the balance between the sacred feminine and masculine polarities. So I have a page on aquarianradio.com. We have a lot to talk about. I can resonate with a lot she's saying. I also am a, what do you call it?
What do you call it?
I knew contact the experiencer. I understand the multidimensionality of existence and et cetera, et cetera. We work with contactees and experiencers as well. So, Dr. Lessin, what would you like to say before we bring on Viviane?
Okay, so Viviane, I know that if you were to put yourself sort of in tune with your Arcturian core, the fractal, and were to give us the essence of the grooviest thing you learned from that the Arcturians want us to know, what is it?
And I want to know, how did this begin? How did you learn that you were a biological Arcturian hybrid? A little bit about your background, where you were born, what was your childhood like? Just start anywhere you want, but we want your story because it sounds fascinating. Welcome to our show, Viviane.
Thank you so much. Very happy to be here today with you. And thank you for everyone listening on the planet. So very happy to share about my background as a hybrid. And I know the Arcturians, the collective, are with me as well. So it will be a beautiful exchange. So to begin with, this is a question that I am being asked the most. How did you come across, do you understand that you are a biological Arcturian hybrid? So we have to go back, few generations back in terms of long interactions with my human families. And there's been a lot of encounters, a lot of experiencing with the Arcturians directly, whether it was through telepathic thoughts, forms, meeting face-to-face, having ship coming down and rendezvous points and all of it. So it's been a long collaboration, soul agreements before this project came about in terms of deciding to come back in the form as a hybrid in this incarnation. And so there's always been on my hand.
What was your considerations? What made you choose this assignment?
Great. How did you make that decision to come back?
Right. I was. Yes, I'm coming to that point. If you just allow me just to answer the very first question. We're very happy to. It's going to be a beautiful exchange, so let it flow together. So, how I became aware I'm a hybrid is something that I took into realization when I was a very young age. I remember even 4 5 years of age, I've already been in that state of consciousness, and I knew that there was something profoundly different about myself, not just the way I perceived the world and the way consciously I was relating to my environment, but also from just the way physically how I was evolving. And this is something that I'm always happy to share in interviews that I talked about a lot in different other interviews. But I like the way you ask the questions, why this realization, why going into the process of creating a hybrid, right? What's the goal behind it? Because
yes,
really, exactly. And so we're touching the core of this, because we have to think that for the human beings who brings about those hybrid children, it does have an impact on them. It does have ripple effect. It does have emotional component to it. So it's a complex process. It's not just, hey, we'll make contact and we'll bring a hybrids about. It's a lot more complex. So if you have to think about of the Arcturians, if you understand their true essence, we know they're highly evolved. So if we look at a planet in the midst of a very old cycle, a project at a divine level that has been prepared for eons, the Earth in the midst of a profound reascension process. So what happened is that it's been calling at the soul level for many, many of us throughout the multiverse, has been calling to come back onto the Earth and bring an essence of our star system onto the Earth to bring a deeper level of assistance. So I mentioned that part because this is part of the component of to the why. So I look at my soul level as to what I've been doing in different incarnations, including being an emanation of Arcturus. And what we do is that I have been assisting many other home worlds, planetary systems, and other civilizations in the midst of deep state of awakening and also evolutionary path. So I knew that there was also part of my soul, this is what I do. And so to bring forth the assistance that was the most potent in response to the amplification of the project of the reascension of the Earth and for the glory of an entire civilizations, we collectively decided, myself, with my star family, our council of elders, to say, let's bring forth a physical vessel on my body, a physical vessel that will carry a very potent, direct Arcturian frequency, light frequency, an embodiment that everything that I touch, my presence, everything that everyone I come in contact with, will create a direct seed of activations, not only for the Earth grids, but also for everyone's energy field. And then that expansion create a wave of expansion, a wave of evolution onto the planet. So we really push the envelope, so to speak, because creating a health.
Like when you gave that imagery of your mission, and I tracked it, I almost felt like it was happening to me right on the spot. That's wonderful.
Oh, wonderful, beautiful. And this is something that you've also experienced for yourself, is that correct?
Wow, that's neato.
Yeah, it's like I had a similar response. I was going, okay, this feels like an activation right there. The way your cadence and your speech.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That needs to be like a meditation tape or something.
Wow.
I don't know if you record like a meditation that people can listen to this meditation, and so I encourage you to do that. And I'm also how I want to I want to get into that mode, but I want to start with a little background because you're going to lose people because we're trying to bridge the gaps between the worlds. We've got the human experience, and I am a hybrid myself, and I lose people. So I've learned how to kind of ground it, and then we can take people with us on a journey. So, I'm like trying to figure out, what did your parents do with you? How did they respond to you? Where were you born, raised? I need some little background, and then let's go to where you just went, because that is extremely powerful. So where were you born and raised?
Yes. Thank you so much for this. So
Yes.
technically, from a human perspective, I grew up in Montreal, Canada. So by human definition, I am what's called a French Canadian. And so I grew up in Canada, and the reason why we chose Canada is because it was a very gentle country, very social type, very mild in terms of including a child and maximizing my chance to be able to grow up in an environment that will be more gentle, an environment that will be also safe. Not saying that I wouldn't be safe anywhere else. I'm just saying that Canada was a very conscious, aligned choice of insertion. So I grew up in Montreal, for many, many years before I moved to the United States. So I'm in the U.S. right now for over about 13, 14 years now. And I love it in the States. It's very much home. At the same time, I grew up there in Montreal, and the fun aspect about where was I born, and I remember I just did a podcast on Stargate Awakening with Misha Johnston about a week or two ago. Yeah, I knew you would. And allow me to bring that piece back, because this is very important for you and for everyone who listen to your amazing shows. Is that, yes, technically I would say I was born in Montreal, but in reality, the first point of interaction I had is I was born on my Arcturian father's ship. I was born on their ship, under their technology, under their supervision, to assure that I would survive, that I would live. And then I was introduced into the Earth plane, and everything else was aligned. So you have to think about one thing. When you talk about a civilization who has conscious assisted technology, who are enlightened, who have reached a level of ascension, so to be able to change timelines or to create a sub-reality that may look like everything aligns so the baby would look like be born in a hospital, it's easy to do. You can also create memories that create the impression that, oh yeah, Viviane was just normally born like any other children in the hospital. But I was shown my birth. I saw the process a few years ago. They showed me how it was done. And what was very amazing about watching that scene consciously when they made that gift a few years ago is that they show me, look, you have two father figures. You have your human father that you grew up with, he raised you, you grew up with, and you have this beautiful family relationship. And you have your Arcturian biological father. So I have two father figures. And they were both there. I saw my human dad and I saw my Arcturian father. And I saw the ship and I saw a doorway. It's like a gateway, a doorway. And that doorway linked directly to the Earth plane. And so they showed me how the process took place for my birth. So it's always a fun question when people ask me, "Where were you born?" I'm like, "You want the short version or the long version?" And the longer version is that.
Did you come out of her body, out of her womb? Were you wrapped in a membrane? What could you tell us a little bit about? What was it like? Our babies are born.
That's a great question. That aspect I didn't see that portion because they said this is part of my mother's memory and they couldn't violate that. But at the same time, it was surrounded by our doctors, the Arcturian doctors, and I did choose to go through the birth canal, because I wanted to experiment what it is like to be in gestation into, with my mother full term, and then going to the birth canal to be able to identify with the Earth plane. But I know there was other aspect that took place to make sure that I would be healthy, that I would be able to breathe, that I would be able to function as a newborn before the introduction into third-dimensional reality. And that aspect is what is the most important, is the precaution, the steps that were taken to make sure that I would live.
Do you have a navel?
I'm sorry?
You have a belly button. you have a belly button that shows that you were attached? Is that still? Do you have a navel like most people I know do?
Yes, I do have a navel because I was part of the process. That was part of the experience I wanted to have. I wanted to get that connection with my human mother.
Gotcha.
So
So you really one with her biologically. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Was there another soul going to be in that body, or were you always destined to be in the body you're in? Was there like a walk-in, or were you? Was it determined that you were going to be in this body that you're in now from the moment of conception, or did they replace you?
They did not replace me. That's a great question. They did not replace me. The body I am now is the body that I chose and we constructed. And so I accepted this body. So I came into the body at some point during the pregnancy to make sure that I would be very much connected to my human mother and also connecting to the earth, to Mother Gaia, and to that reality. So I was think of it as an emanation of me in the embodiment to make sure the body lives, grows, and develops normally like any other fetus. At the same time, the other part of my emanation was also connected to the collective. So think of it as being in between. And so it's like creating a bridge between our collective and the body that's been on the construction, so to speak, that was developing and making sure that we had to make sure the body would be strong, normal to a certain sense, and viable so I can fully integrate and being able to be in it. Now, the other aspect that I like to mention in that regards is that at some point of time, at the early stage of my development, I received another soul in my body. So there's an emanation of a master that came through and came into my body. So now there's two of us, so to speak, in a form of a spirit, in the form of a soul. Yes. Because what happened is that the body was not responding the way we were hoping. The immune system was failing, and the digestive tract was not compatible with the nourishment that I was given on the 3D level. So there was defect, if you want. There was some aspect that I was not able to integrate on the denser field. So there was extra measure taken, and the embodiment, that soul, that portion of that master came through and encore himself with me. So today, even to this day, the master is still there. Its emanation is very, very important in terms of life force energy. So there's this aspect of us. I can feel my soul expressing the sacred feminine, and with master expressing the polarity and the sacred masculine. So we're very balanced with the polarity within myself. If that makes sense.
Oh, it makes total sense. I totally understand. Yes.
So I want to go to your conception. Did they take your seed, your egg, and create it outside of the womb? Did they create you with a copulation with your mother? Did they? What system did they use to create
the zygote?
Zygote?
Right. That portion I asked repeatedly the team. I asked my father, and they said again in regards to the agreement that has been made at the soul level between my human parents and them, there's some aspect that has been keep as a privacy and respect to them. One thing I can tell you is that the reproduction system of the Arcturians have nothing to do like human beings do it, so to speak. So that image needs to be put out of the way. I know that they show me that also there's a blend of genetic material, and then there's a transfer into a matrix, and that's all they said. That aspect is very sacred, and by respect to my parents and everything they've gone through and agreed to do, so we keep it this way. I'm sure you can understand that.
Sure.
Are you the only person in your family that's a hybrid, or do you have siblings, or even children? Do you have children?
So let's go back to siblings first. I have only one brother, and his conception was done the human way, so he's human by definition. I am I am the only one in my family line, and that's one thing that was a bit puzzling for other family members, and then later on doctors looking at my DNA and my structure. It's almost like I was put in that family, you know, and I just appear out of my own line. So I am my own genetic line, so to speak. There's no one else like me in both on my mother and my father's side. I'm the only one. And for children, I do not have biological children. However, I do have 3 beautiful stepchildren.
Do any of the extraterrestrials harvest your germ cells?
What do you mean by harvesting my stem cells?
A lot of the people that we interview are when they're on board, whoever's taking them on board takes their eggs and sperm and does all and creates with it. That's what I mean. And, yeah.
No, this is not how we do it. This is not my purpose.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we've interviewed, lots of people that have originations like yours. Like Cindy, I saw you had Cindy Crawford. And,
oh, yeah.
And she's a mix of several different alien species plus human, and even her soul essence is mixed. So there's many ways this can happen. So we're very curious as to how yours happened. And the Arcturians, they're kind of in the humanoid family, correct?
I'm sorry, there was some noise in the background. Can you repeat the question, please?
Arcturians are humanoid. They have eyes in the front and bipedal, and they look humanoid rather than reptoid or mantoid. Yes, correct.
Yes, they are quite considered as a humanoid civilizations. You are correct about this. I have known Cynthia Crawford. We used to be friends many years ago, and if you look at both our stories in terms of how a hybrid has been come about, is that in my case it's been done with the utmost integrity, respect, soul integrations, contract agreements. It's been done in a completely different settings. I am not a military project, and I am not the product of two humans producing a child and that the child is being manipulated. That's a completely different approach in terms of hybrids. In my case,
what I'm getting is that you were selected to be an ambassador of a go-between, someone to bring wisdom and solace and help to people here. That's what I get. So you were specifically chosen for this mission, and you chose it.
Yeah, but
yes,
Viviane
you are absolutely correct with that.
You're not part
and
of
so
the
it was with honor rather than
right.
Than when disrespect, like what happened to Cindy.
Right. Yeah. So Cindy was not respected, and you were intentionally created with some reverence and respect for your mother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's a different
beautifully said. Yes, exactly. Beautifully said. Exactly. That you really capture the exact essence of what we chose and why I agreed to this, and it was very much of an honor, and understanding that we're doing this for the success of an entire civilization, an entire planet, and there's so much at stake. So absolutely, that's the essence.
So did your mother know she was she aware of agreeing to do this?
Yes, full knowingness, full memories. Part of the agreement is that it will be done in a very conscious way. Even to this day, the moment I was born, they both knew. They're exceptional people because in terms of behavior towards me, I was completely accepted, super loved, very well taken care of. I was absolutely, and I am still very embraced for who I am, and both on my parents' side. So you have to think about for a moment, it speaks volume about both of them, both my human dad and my human mother, for not only to enter in full agreement with this incredible project or endeavor to bring forth a hybrid child in a full knowingness and full consciousness of it, but at the same time to embrace and accept the child and provide the care. Because it was not easy to, just know what to do all the time. And especially when you're new parents, any new parents will connect to that statement. Nobody comes with a manual of instructions, right? And so what to know and how to attune to your child, imagining a child that, function in a whole way, health issues and other part of different, very profound, different ways of interconnecting. And so this is why I have so much respect for my parents. They're extraordinary people and extraordinary soul to, agree to this for them too, to bring forth the ambassador and I am the bridge. But they too have to be a bridge and accept to do this.
How were they contacted to come into agreement to bring you forth into this world?
It started before the incarnation, so we were already in communication with them when they were in the original incarnations. And then when they incarnated together, and by the time they aged 16, 17, the contact started. And first, when you look at the sky, you see a ship, and then the ship follows you, and then the next thing you know, you start to receive thought form transmission, and then those thought forms had a language, and then those language were giving messages, and those messages would lead to places of rendezvous points where scout ship or some of the mothership would come and have direct interaction with them. So in other terms, he went from a first stage of contact to a full, encounter of the fifth kind, a full initiation. And even to this day, there's still such in the presence of opening that there've been other civilizations, other star beings coming, connecting with them, talking, giving them messages, giving them support, and so many interaction over the years. It is so exhaustive, and I always tell them, you could easily write a book just about your direct contact, where you have, right into the house, walking through portals, ships, being on board the ship consciously, having those clear telepathic communications, and having the language, and then being able to bring about this language in form of messages. So you can tell that the intricate of communications over the years have been a series of unfolding events that led to the point where it was time to bring me on board, so to speak. So it was a long process for many years before I arrived in incarnation.
And what year did you arrive in incarnation?
I arrived in the 70s.
Okay.
I came back on the
they were
70s.
So they're probably my generation. I'm 66, and I'm a contact. And then my grandmother was born in the early part of the 20th century. She was also a contactee. Does it go back another generation? In your family, too, you mentioned several generations when we first started, if I heard you correctly.
Yes. There was also other generations that had contact, and there were experiencers, contactees. So we have a long lineage in our family on the human side.
Okay, so you were all connected on the other side. So you're all part of like a soul family, same group. But your soul origination is Arcturian. It isn't human, or is it both? Like Cynthia Crawford had, I think, 3 different soul emanations. So I remember something reptilian, mantis, human, or something. And same with Simon Parks from the UK. So some people have their soul essences mix, and then there's the biological essence is a mixed hybrid. Was it
Right.
the same for you? Okay.
Yeah, my biological, the biological essence is deeply Arcturian in this lifetime. As for the soul, I have a very strong emanation that came directly from our star system, from Arcturus. And then the other aspect of my soul is that I also remember myself as a beautiful, just formless being, just pure energy of light. And then from being formless, going into an Arcturian emanation, and then from an Arcturian emanations, coming back into the earth plane and incarnating into a hybrid body and hybrid aspects.
What is the human's relationship with Arcturians? Why are they so interested in Earth and in humans?
Human beings, think of it as the way they are perceived from our perspective is we see arrays of absolutely amazing advanced beings, what we call giants of light. The human beings in itself are an extraordinary race of peaceful. The DNA, if you look at the original of humanity and it was designed, you're designed for peace, you're designed for growth, you're designed for, spiritual evolution and beyond. And so we have encountered in our journey many other civilizations, and we have witnessed the destructions of world and the destruction of planets. And it's one of the most traumatizing experience you can do is when you watch a planet being destroyed. It's the ripple effect it creates, the karmic ties it creates, the trauma it does for millions of souls who are connected can last for so many generations. And so we understand the profoundness of life. We honor life and we serve Supreme Source. So through our history, if you want, to our experience, we have been of assistance and shall always be of assistance to many different other civilizations or also in the same midst of evolution as the Earth is. And how precious is each spectrum or each speck of life that represent a part of creation. And so in a very quick way, just to extract the essence as to why we are here to assist, and we have been assisting for a very long time, is that we can perceive this race, this civilizations growing and returning in a state of celestial perfection. And as we're serving Supreme Source, this is something that is very, very precious to us. We're all about our missions. We're all about the protection, the assistance of life. And so for those reasons, in essence, it will answer the why we are assisting.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
So what would you like us to know, since you're here as an ambassador, and you're addressing the human race, and we are facing the most challenging, I guess, since World War II. This is a major challenge. Can you give us an overview on perhaps the logic or the reasoning or why planets go through stuff like this, or are we unique? Are we the only planet that's going through this? Can you give us some feedback, because people are frightened. They don't know what's truth, what are lies, what's going on. Anyway, from your perspective, as the alien looking at the planet Earth, what's going on? What can we do?
Yes, we understand. These are very challenging times, but at the same time, the golden opportunity of rising is exceptional. So if you look at the true archives of the Earth and to the genuine Akashic records of the Earth, this planet has been claimed a long time ago by other factions or other civilizations whose intention and whose perspective is very different from ours in terms of We don't own life. We respect life. We honor life in all sentient life forms. One of the things that is very important right now, because you have come to a point of great junction in your evolution, is that each and every one of you need to return to the sacredness of honoring sentient life forms, including your own. And if you look at the manipulation, the oppression through your heart center, all the illusionary paradigm has been forced onto this planet in form of separation, impression to separate from source, from one another, and also the separation from the greatest source of power that you possess, which is your heart center. You need to return to that cosmic heart, your Christ consciousness. You need to return to wakening up in your life to see, how do you treat life? Do you treat yourself for the utmost respect that you are, and therefore it reflects in your actions, your words, your interactions, your communications, and also how you respect the earth? And respecting also other life form includes the animal kingdom. This is something we spoke about before, and we shall again, because right now we are creating repetition, which creates a new form of habits of liberation and freedom. And so to deeply gain a much higher realization how we are, as you are, interconnected, intermingled to those waves of energy that you're constantly exchanging. So if you just take the principle, then everything is action, energy, and actions. And those waves of fear that are going through right now, it is the most contagious part of any global or any planetary situation or crisis. So right now we are in a wave of retractive energies that creates or force people to go back and retract to their more primal state. Whether it's to your primal chakra system, you're retracting to those primal ones, identifying to instinct of survival out of fear, lack, and insecurity. Or right away, if you cut yourself in that point, you realize that there's a huge need to balance, to cleanse, and revitalize your center, your inner center, and expand to your light body, and says, is that how I wish to engage my connections with life, with others? And that wave is extremely potent and important right now. It is a way that has been in the making for a long time, because if you look at the Earth from our perspective, from an holographic perspective, the Earth looks like a major grid. Each point of the grid represents a speck of life evolving, whether it's a human being, an ET in the form of a being, or an earth angel in the form of a human being, or an animal, a tree, the earth herself, every spark of life. You will see how the grid has grown in consciousness, and you can see that it generates other needs. It generates other ways of making decisions, different approach of making choices. And so you've come to a very major crossroad in your evolutionary path as individuals, but also as a civilizations through your connected collectives. And so right now it's allowing yourself to be aligned, completely aligned, and integrate your past, integrate those shadow aspects of yourself with love, with great healing, with great compassion, with cosmic forgiveness, and regain sovereignty. It is time that everyone on the planet, billions of people, reclaiming their sovereignty. Can you visualize, can you feel the shift of paradigm we can create in a heartbeat? And I know from a third dimensional perspective, right now, this is something, it seems like a task that is as huge as a mountain. And we do understand, but at the same time, you're returning to a more fifth or sixth degrees of octave of expression all of you on the planet is returning to the profoundness of who you are in terms of identity, and also detaching from storylines, applying the art of detachments is to gain more of a wiser perspective, like almost like a Zen master. A Zen master is connected to everything and understand how everything unfolds around him or her, and look at their students, how they're evolving. At the same time, the master is always in a state of connection, and the master keeps its peace, and the master will keep his or her peace within. You don't give out your peace because there's commotions around you. You keep that inner peace, and this is your foundation, your key to realize, am I in a sacred relationship with life right now, or am I running loose like a scared child? And that's okay if that's the case. It's just a very profound, very loving, and very powerful invitation to come back and better focus your light on your current events, to better focus here, and to understand, to decode what is really happening, this huge purging on the planet that is going on. And that purging is also going to create a very large, expansive wave of awakening and consciousness on the planet. And many of your boundaries are going to start to melt. It's going to start to become obsolete. Boundaries of time, boundaries of distance, boundaries of cultural archetypes, boundaries of societal expectations, boundaries of religion factors, and so forth. Those boundaries are start to create new archetypes of light and new archetypes of interactions with yourself, with one another, but also how do you treat life on a day-to-day basis. That aspect alone will liberate a lot of suffering on your planet. And that's another aspect that we see. It's the liberation of suffering and the liberation of paradigm around suffering and oppression that is coming to a very, very major point. And I know that resonates to many right now, because what we do, we're talking to your inner being, and we're talking to that center within you that is very conscious, very present. So we call upon your inner master and just allow your conscious mind, your lower mind, to invite it to join your higher mental faculties so you can connect more and more, in a sense, how we're going to be living day to day. I hope that resonates with everyone.
Oh,
yeah, that's lovely.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
What is preventing the Arcturians and other species? I'm sure the Arcturians are in a ongoing relationship with other species. What's preventing them from disclosing their presence here? It seems, even though you're coming through with who you are, it's still cryptic. It's, behind layers. It's not open. Are they going to reveal themselves? And if so, when and how?
Yes. So the when is now. It is already unfolding right now. If you look at what you understand or expect around disclosure, many of you, many roles, many concepts. So what does a disclosure means? Oftentimes that term has a connotation that has a very distinct expectation behind it. So if you look at the civilizations like ourselves, Arcturians or Andromedans, for example, or other very evolved beings that assist you, is that we have to understand that you've come here as masters, you just forgotten that. But at the same time, there's a level of interaction that how we can intervene, and when we cannot prevent or deprive the civilizations from rising to a stage where it's going to give you true empowerment. What we can do is provide the guidance, the assistance, and the clear teaching, and also other tools to get you in a place of empowerment. If you look at a child, and I'm going to give you a very basic example just to relate to a concept, if you allow us. If you take one of your child, that you love, cherish, care for. And the child is evolving. You understand their reality a lot more than the child can, right? And so the child says, I want to ride a bicycle. So I need training wheels. I'm going to need to learn techniques. I'm going to need to learn how I can keep my equilibrium onto a device called a bicycle. And so there's many mechanisms around the learning of riding a bicycle that the child has to go through. And we say that with great love and respect, of course, because when the child reaches that point where the equilibrium is attained, where the mastery of the device is there, there's an aspect of evolution that takes place that the parent cannot prevent, nor can it provide fully. So it's the same principle in terms of the way you are perceived. It's a lot more vast and deeper that you perceive yourself. And there's other aspect going on your planet to different structure that prevents a little bit that direct intervention or direct going and let's land our ship in this park and let's gather around the ship. It's much more deeper than that. The disclosure, it's about disclosing of who you are, reconnecting with ancient memory connectors. Those ancient memory connectors within yourself will allow you to understand the full aspect of you, the full prism of your being. And disclosure means also to return to your celestial divine origin and honoring life on a day-to-day basis. Disclosure means is to be conscious that there are many forms and level of hybrids on the planet, experiencers, contactees, starseeds, light workers, earth angels, and so forth. And so disclosure as a multidimensional facets. Now, without being said, we understand what you mean. And I know that many, many, many of you are very eager to have a more face-to-face, physical, visual contact. This is all in the process, in the making. The more you evolve consciously, individually, but also as a collective, the more that nature of connection is implied. It's natural. We're going into that space. We are in that space now. So when we come to disclosure, there are other light workers on the planet who's doing a sublime job in terms of giving information, and we honor them. So the role of enlightened civilizations come to you from a point of allow us to teach you, to show you, to guide you, to return to yourself of mastery, then disclosure has a whole different meaning. So more and more we're going into that space. And if you look at you both, for example, you are co-hosts of a very potent, amazing shows that bring forth the voices of many, whether it's someone like myself, others have come before, and those who've come after me. Well, that's a form of disclosure, because what we're doing right now is that we're disclosing who we are in a way that is relatable, it is a way that is accessible, and in real time. We are functioning right now. So they're here. It's like telling you, move your hand to space and you will feel that you just move through dimensions. It's a reality that is here. It's just there's some little bit of attunement that needs to be done, which is why we invite you more and more and more to truly return to living to a space, to your cosmic heart, to return to your sense of empowerment and take on your sovereignty. Because after that, barriers that we spoke of earlier, those type of barriers start to melt and the curtain lifts off, so to speak. And so there's multiple ways to bring this closure. And I know that resonates with all of us because it's already there. It's already here in the now.
Yeah, it's like you're like CC cleaner for my computer. It's once you describe the process, our intellects have tracked you and put it inside, and now it interacts with all the other data and impressions we have, and so we can't not know what you just said because it's now activated. And I really like the way you teach.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
So we have 5 minutes before the break. I'm here doing the tech stuff and keeping track of this three-dimensional time that we're occupying. And I realize you have so much to convey to us, and I'm not sure exactly how you want to do all this. But what would you like our listeners to learn? And then we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back for the second hour. What message do you want for the next 5 minutes here that you want to convey?
Beautiful. So I would say to this point, let's everybody integrate all these activations. Like you mentioned, those activations, whether it's mental, whether it's spiritual, energetically. So in the second hour, let's everything flow. And if you have any questions or anything that comes, it feels going to open a very fluid dialogue. At the same time, if you look at everything that we've already exchanged, learned, teach, and also be in a sense of such a depth of connections, we feel that everyone needs to reset. So let's take a breather, a deep breath of reset to let our being a complete alignment, and then we'll be right back with the second hour, and it's going to be magnificent. I can already feel it, my being. Does that make sense?
You make sense. You make sense. Do you have a question, Viviane? We have 3 more minutes. This is a timing thing. We're doing
well. Just what I keep getting is with central imagery is centering in the heart chakra and allowing your sense of oneness with everybody and everything to expand and to feel part of our unity. That's basically that's what I got. Anyway,
the state that you're activating and what I end up achieving is where I go to at night, and I come back, and it's like trying to explain it to this 3D world is, most people don't get it. They get it for a moment. So people are going to get it while we're talking, but then it kind of it's like a dream, and it fades, and then you go back into it's like levels of reality. So what I'm hoping to do is somehow give this level to people that it doesn't fade after the show is over. It doesn't fade after we're done speaking. I guess it's anchored with belief. So people believe, and then they go, what?
Oh yeah, I just listen. And if you've heard this stuff, whenever you hear or see the word Viviane, then this program of universal oneness and love will be activated. So just remember, Viviane, whenever you hear that, that's what it'll work for you.
Great.
Beautiful. And thank you so much for saying that with Viviane. And one thing I'd like to mention is that regardless of people filters, and everybody will go about their life and then live their lives according to their state of consciousness, everything that has been received will stay. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not something that just sounds beautiful and then you turn it off and it's it. This is much more profound than that. It core itself within your being and resurface in times as everyone continues to blossom. So quite the contrary, it is so potent that it will continue to be with you. It's part of you now. It's just your filters may take it over for just a while, and that's okay. But that's the difference here.
Beautiful. You know what I get is when my filters take over, I say, filters, what are your concerns and how is that relevant? And tell me about yourself and what you need. Because even they have a message.
Exactly. Well said. Exactly. So you see, I always say to people, which part of you speak today? Filters, the lower mind, and then you say, okay, I acknowledge you. I love you. I hear you. Your information is received. Allow me to give you another version. And here, let me show you. And then from there, you can go back to say, then say the word Viviane. And then you go back, now I remember. It's right there, right in my fingertips.
That's Lovely. Yes, and when we come back, I want to talk about are you following your soul's destiny? And how do you know what your soul's destiny is? Aloha, and welcome back to Stargate and Cosmos. I'm your host, Janet Carol Lessin, with Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin. Our producer is Thomas Becker, also known as the Mad Painter. This is Revolution Radio, Studio B. Our guest is Viviane Chauvet. And before we get back to our show, I'd like to remind everybody to please go up to the donation button on revolution.radio. And there's a tab up at the top left side. If you want to make a one-time donation, please use that. If you want to make an ongoing, recurring donation, go to the Patreon button. And we really do appreciate your donations because you help us stay on air and bring you all these wonderful shows. Dr. Lessin, what would you like to say before we bring back Viviane?
Well, I got to say that I'm just in awe. And this almost everything that you say, Viviane, is just a super turn on for me and our listeners. So I'm really looking forward to the second half of the show.
So welcome back, Viviane. Are you there?
Thank you so much. Yes, I am very much here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate both of you and all of you listeners, of course, around the world. And it's such a pleasure being here and having this amazing exchange right now. So thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Now, I have some practical kind of ABC questions I want to ask you this beginning of the second hour. So when you were a child, were these Arcturians interacting with you as a human? Did they take you to their planets? Are you still going? How do they convey information to you? Tell us a little bit more about who these beings are and their lives and how they interact with you. Do they have a planet? Do they have space stations? What are their ships like? We have a million questions, but coming from you, what's it like interacting with the Arcturians?
Oh, yes. Interacting with them is absolutely delightful, of course, being such a part of them. You have to think about imagining Arcturians. We know they're humanoid looking, but at the same time, their quality oftentimes has been mistaken for angels because they have such a presence. When you start to understand their true essence, they are truly masters. They convey such a profound, pure conduit of love and enlightenment that being in their presence, it's oftentimes difficult, challenging to want to come back here. So as a child, growing up, going to school, playing playing with the other children and everything, it was very difficult for me even back then because I was not relating to the normal what fun means or the games and all the little traditions that children have. I had a different idea of fun. For me, fun was to connect to the sun, being in connections with everything, playing with my spaceship. I have toys. My toys were not dolls or stuff like that. I had my little alien characters in my spaceship, and I was playing. And I was happy in that setting because it felt natural. It felt like home. I grew up around a family whose dedication to extraterrestrial contact, to movies, to observation in the sky, going into the countryside, to be just connecting to the stars under the sky was something natural. So you have to see that, I was not raised playing baseball and riding bicycles, which I did for a very short time. And then I found that was not for me. That was too 3D for me. It was way too physical. I'm like, no, this is not for me. So, everything inside of me was an invitation to awaken. So how they communicate with me, that's a big one that people ask me a lot. So they communicate with me through thought form transmission. So I can hear them as clearly as I'm hearing both of you asking questions. It's a collective voices coming as one. So through those thought transmission, it conveys clearly all of their intentions, informations, emotions, imagery. It's like a giant fiber optic that is transmitted to me. And it comes directly to my third eye. It comes through my higher throat chakra into my thymus chakra, my heart. So when the collective speak to me, I can hear them clearly, but I can hear them between my throat chakra and my thymus chakra, right into the higher heart center. And, I can be just driving, and then out of the blue, I ask them, are you still there? And they go, of course we are. We're not going anywhere. And so that communication for me is like having a channel, a radio channel that is on 24/7. And I decide the volume of it. Do I want it for maximum volume? Do I want to turn it down? Depending on life's events, depending on situations. But the transmission, so to speak, is constant. And so growing up, of course, they let me grow up so I can consciously be able to understand what those intuition center would come, those thoughts would come from, feeling the presence around me, feeling that even at night. I remember one night I was lifting up of my bed. I was feeling I was levitating off of my bed, and I didn't understand what it was. And I heard voices said, "Remember who we are. We're here to assist you. We're here because we're part of your group." And they had a portal open in my bedroom. I remember clear as a bell because it was right in my closet, and every time the portal would open, I would hear the hangers like just jiggling with each other, like moving, and it was making noise. And so that portal was active there, and everywhere we would move to, or any new housing we would be in, they would just change the portal around and to make sure that they were always in proximity. So that our relationships, you have to think that we have established a relationship from childhood, growing up, young adult, and then to this day. So our relationship have deepened, has grown, has expanded in understanding, love, acceptance, consciousness. And so they have to let me also evolve on this earth and watching my evolution, my growth, what I was learning. And they were learning through me, also through my human experience. So it's a big collaboration where they're learning through me at the same time I'm connected to them. The bridge that you mentioned earlier, it's going both ways. So they have very much a profound respect for human beings, because they understand that we are soul emanations of source, and we are in a physical embodiment, and the requirements it takes for people here in human form, in physical form, what it takes in terms of care, in terms of maintenance, in terms of all the steps we have to take, those repetitive tasks like washing your face every day and brushing your teeth and making sure that you take vitamins. And it's a lot of work, as opposed to have a more of an ethereal body that generates through source energy or, sunlight energy. And it's a lot easier to regenerate this way through your thought forms that you constantly have to maintain a physical body. So there's a beautiful two ways learning from my journey on the planet. And I know that makes a lot of sense, because we know how it feels like to maintain ourselves from a day to day, and we awaken at the same time. So this connection has deepened so much over the years, especially, I would say, when I entered my early 20s. There was another level of connections that took place. And I'm just so honored to be such an active part of my collective and be here at the same time on the earth at the stages of such a magnificent process to the reascension. It's truly phenomenal.
When you were growing up, how did they handle your awakening sexuality? Did they permit you to have relationships, or did you ever do you have a relationship? Have you ever been married? Those type of things. How did they handle that with you?
The sexual energy part is of no consequence. That's what they're saying. So in terms of relationship, of course, my primary function is to have relationships with others, to connect, to relate. And so I have the same capability of love and making connections that anybody, any other soul in embodiment. And so that makes us a little bit smiling. But in the same time, it's the consciousness, is the approach behind this, is to think about when you look at how life is evolving and how we connect to each other, whether it's friendship, whether it's family, whether it's simulate with strangers, or even through more intimate relationship like a significant others, a spouse maybe, or, someone in your life, then relationship is the essential core of your evolution. So of course, relationship will be an essential core of my evolution here. And this is another big, big learning curve in terms of how we connect and how we perceive one another through relationships and interactions.
And then it's that you are now 61% Arcturian. So were you a lower percentage Arcturian at one point, and now you've grown to that higher percentage?
This percentage is growing as I am merging more and more with both aspects of myself, the human part and the Arcturian part. This is one of big, big learning curves. And this is true whether you are a starseed, an experiencer, an earth angel incarnations, whichever directions your emanations come from, you have to embrace and integrate fully your human part. And so for me, one of the things I have to learn over time is not just to identify myself as the Arcturian within me, but also embrace and incorporate the other aspect. It's like incorporating the yin and the yang. Both aspects of the coin makes the whole, the oneness, the unity. And so as I continue to evolve and that evolution is deepening more, and I can feel it even physically, is that I have come to a sense of peace and acceptance. And I have consciously chose to have an embodiment in human form and be born from a human mother, to be able to understand what it is like and what it feels like to have a human life. And that aspect of me is not better, less than the other part, is as equal. So that aspect of coming together, it's like looking at someone evolving. When you heal your past and you extract the lessons and then you evolve into your light, all those aspects come together in oneness. It's not separate from you. Otherwise, it creates an illusion of separation. And so, yes, in that sense, I had to bring those aspects and accept all aspects. And it has brought me a lot more peace with myself. And at the same time, one of the ripple effects is that my capability as a conduit and being able to hear my team, communicate with them, and convey messages in the form of very clear, conscious blended channel has increased over time because I am merging every aspect of myself without discrimination.
So let me just see if it's really going two ways. That means they were also getting the thrill of being kinesthetic as you brush your teeth. They get to feel the sensations in their gums or whatever form they take. That somehow that's what they're getting. They're getting embodiment as a human, and those things that you're saying as are physical routines are delightful perhaps to them.
Yeah, are you saying that they lack a form? They don't have to do any kind of maintenance on there? Do they have a 3D form, or are they in a higher vibratory frequency? If they do have a 3D form, do they have to maintain it What's their risk? Do they brush your teeth and brush your hair, or, you know?
Okay, so your question.
Like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, your question has multiple aspects because both of you bring different aspects in one question. So allow us to go back a little bit in terms of what was said about them taking delight in the physical routine. Every sense,
yes,
because
yes.
physically, a physical conduit, a physical vessel for myself, the master within me, and my collective. So yeah, they partake in terms of understanding the necessity and the physical routine that it requires to maintain a third density physical form. So they have great appreciation in that sense of the sacredness behind it, because when you brush your teeth every night, what you are showing yourself is a sense of love and care, and you are in interconnection with yourself in that aspect. So that's one aspect of it. But to go back to the other aspect of the question, they do not have a third density body. That's for human beings here on this planet. They do have a physical form that is a lot less dense than human beings. There are some structure, like, for example, muscular structures and the way a human form is made, that is of no necessity, the way that the Arcturians have evolved over generations. So think of them as more of a fifth and sixth dimensional beings of light that have evolved within the Arcturian star system. So the way of ingesting nutrients is not the same way. There's no need of a complex stomach process of digestive with, intestinal tract and all of this. There's no need for this. So they have evolved on a different level of what you perceive as a physical body that is much more light. And so looking at what I need to do, ingesting, chewing food, having teeth to chew so that the enzyme of your tongue is also activated for the digestive system, and all the complexity of the human form, it's very unique to this planet in terms of embodiment. So it's a complete different level of evolution here.
Okay. Now, are you interacting with any other species, beings, and are any of those in this 3D capacity? Or are they all in higher vibratory frequencies, like the Greys? Are they 3D or are they fourth dimension, or are they both? What do you know about the other species?
There are many countless other species out there, as you call them. There are those who come onto the Earth, are already in the Earth, whether it's the inner Earth or different faction around the planet. There's many bases, as we know. There's many physical presence of extraterrestrial being on the planet. So your question is a multidimensional aspect question. It's not just a black and white one. They are beings who are here in physical form because they can sustain and being in the same vibrational field as a third dimensional aspect, yes. And there are those who interact at different level of frequency of light. So yes, we are in interconnections with many other civilizations. We're part of many other councils. We interact with different species, such as the Andromedans, such as the High Council of Syrians. We also interact with the Antares. We contact with those that you don't even know by names. And as for the Greys are very multifaceted. But at the same time, my team, the Greys cannot access me. It's part of the agreement of my journey here. So my team will not allow Greys around me. I remember a few years ago, I knew this person. He was in contact with a sub-race within the Zeta Reticuli. They were more amphibian type of beings, but they were a sub-cousin race of the Greys. And they were beautiful beings, and they would come to his house physically, and they will open portal, and they will interact with them. And I remember one time I was at his house, and one of them came and he was hiding behind a vase. And he looked at me and I looked at the being, and my team right away came and says, you are not going to, you can approach her. We're not allowing it. So these type of interaction, they're very filtering out who approaches me, who don't, especially depending of which system they come from. And it's not that they're good or bad. There's no label. Understand this. There's no label here. And we're not going to put them in a box label as something. It's a lot more complex. And there's different reasons that they understand why we're filtering out those who can interact with me and those who don't. But those of the Zeta Ridiculi are off limit for me, although I recognize them and I have seen them before. But we are in interactions with many others, different kind of councils we're part of also with the Galactic Federations and those on the planet, whether they are in full-blown ET forms, as you call it, or in a form of starseed form, where their soul emanation comes from another star system and we interact with them. One of the things in terms of my Arcturian energy is I attract a lot of Sirians. I attract a lot of starseed that comes from Sirius. They're very naturally attracted to Arcturian energies. Other Arcturians in starseed and from embodiment as well. We also attract the attentions a lot on the reptilians and the alpha draconians. They're very, very drawn to my Arcturian energies. And other beings, I have a friend, he's originally from Andromeda, and he's very fully aware of it. And we became friends. Naturally, our energy just says, we know each other, we're friends already, just let's make it so. So the friendship was almost instant in this lifetime. And so I have another friend, my best friend in England, she's Syrian, a starseed Syrian, and her too, we were like, it's instant friendship. It's like, oh, we know we're friends already. We know each other. We work together. So let's bring the friendship right now in this lifetime too. And so it's wonderful to see how more and more we are gravitating around each other, different star emanations coming together and recognizing one another. And I have also other instances where people come to me and says, I am an experiencer. I have worked a lot with hybrid children. I have hybrid children who evolve and exist on the ship directly with their star family. And I have especially women come to me and says, I see the hybrids in you. I can see how you've been put together physically and I can see the differences. They're subtle, just enough to blend in, but I can see them, I recognize them. And it always warms my heart when someone comes to me and says, I'm a hybrid mother, or I have interactions with other star beings and I'm in contact with them so I can see their visual are in tune to recognize, and they tell me how they can see that in me. And this is to me, on the human part, this is disclosure. This is an aspect of how we activate one another when we recognize each other, not only from our soul emanation, but also we recognize the presence that we are in each other. And to me, this is amazingly an aspect of the disclosure that we bring about on this planet more and more.
Oh, that's beautiful. And one of the basic trespassos exercises that we do in All Chakra Tantra is we breathe together and then look in each other's left eyes until deep within we see the same consciousness in self and whoever we're looking at, the same consciousness in both of us. Then we bow and say namaste. I salute the divine in me.
Exactly. Oh, this is profound. Absolutely. And if you look at what the word disclosure is about, that is describing a very core essence of this. And then through that, then welcoming our star brothers and sisters in a more tangible form is just going to be like the cherry on top, in my opinion.
So, are they? So you're constantly in contact with them, and so anytime you need to ask a question, receive guidance, they're right there. Now, what I get in my experience is I am frequently taken to meetings, or I go to meetings. I guess I go. I'm not taken. No victim. Have you been a part of any of these meetings with other species? And I'm not sure what realm or dimension they're in. It seems that I'm going interdimensionally and etherically. Or
you mentioned Galactic Council, though, and so did Viviane.
Right. So tell us about your interactions with the Galactic Council.
Within the Galactic Federation, we have a group of representatives that are Arcturian based, and we do have also a point of liaison, someone there from the Galactic Federation that we call upon. Think of this being, of this person, as a bridge between the Galactic Federation and us. And so oftentimes we call upon this point of liaison that comes directly to me, and then from there we can work together. In terms of taking place of councils, of meetings, of course, if you look at this aspect of me that speaks with you right now, it's just an aspect of me. When my body is put to rest at night, I do a lot of off-planet work. So I'm very active in a very largest sense of the word in terms of doing lots of off-work planet. So I go on and off the planet a lot, and then I come back and, reintegrate what the work I've done in with other civilizations, other dimensions, other spheres of realities, and bring it back here as re-implementing a higher level of consciousness on the planet here on this earth, and also how it translates in the interactions. So if you think about all this work we're doing when we are not on this earth consciously, when we bring it back here, it changes the vibratory rate on the planet and the consciousness of your collective. So every time we bring an energy or a connections, communications, and interactions, if you want, and we bring it back here, it stimulates something within the collective that people receive in a very oftentimes non-conscious way, but nonetheless, it is within your being. And if you look just as the way your DNA, your double helix, is evolving to the full 12 strands and also activating the multidimensional aspect of your DNA, it shows that there's been so many encoding in terms of new archetype information that has been introduced through the collectives. Mm-hmm. And that brings me back to another point in terms when, before the break in the first segment, you mentioned in terms of what do we do to interact and bring disclosure in all of this. If you look at your government system right now, the structure that is behind the power that keeps certain paradigm in place, what do you think happened at that level? Our direct assistance to consciousness has been offered a long, long time ago, but this is not the way to approach this, because this is not where through changes is. Because right now you are coming to a planetary decision. You're coming to a point where a transformation process is imminent. It's already unfolding. And there's a need to feel for all of you that you're moving forward into a completely different state of future for yourself, what you're building right now. So the old ways of approaching government structure, those in authority, structure, and all of this to exchange for technology is obsolete. And if you look through your archives and to the Earth history, we know that those approaches have been done by other civilizations. It has not brought to you to a point where you need to be in terms of conscious evolution. So many of us, many other civilizations, like the Andromedans, for example, have decide to have a different approach and come to the people, it's through the populations, it's through the ground crew, if you want. All of you, all of us, who carry this stellar energy within you onto your divine spark. This is where the true change is here, is very come to the point of decision. So think of it as a decisive planetary decision, where that junction of consciousness that says, I choose to activate myself as a beacon of light. I remember that I decided to come and make a difference on this world. And the difference can be just subtle ways of how you live your life, being aware of what you eat, how you treat your planet, how you chose to even clean your houses. Are we going back into 3D basic actions? Just way of how you teach your children. Do you stimulate their inner gifts? Do you encourage them to stay connected, especially the young children growing up? And if you look at your generations coming through, this is where we call it a planetary decision point, where you're changing the way you also interacting with the other generations, the pioneers before you, your elders, the young children coming. What is it you're teaching them? The same old paradigm as a repetitive performance? Or do you bring a complete different way of consciousness to help those who've come with very strong light connections? They have no veil. They are in connections. They can tap into different parallel universe right here. And so we really come together in a junction, and believe me when we said that the level of assistance is paramount on this planet in many, many ways. Every day, you need to ask. You need to be open to receive this assistance. And again, what part of you is receiving this assistance? The filters, the lower mind, the stubborn inner child, or your true master, your inner being? And so these decisions are obvious. They have been talked about before. And now we're coming to a point of action with these.
Thank you. Sasha, question.
I just, start within. What parts of you need to respect other parts, and how can you coordinate it in a healthy way? Look at what bugs you in other people, because that's your sure way of seeing what it is that you're not accepting and dealing with in yourself. And it just expands outward. Yes, within, so without. And it's right here in these wonderful set of teachings that we've been getting from Viviane. I really hope that you get this program when we put it out in podcast and listen to it a few times. It's just so full for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, Viviane, you work with the holographic matrix to maintain optimal health and upgrade the nervous systems, gateways of light, activate core changes, attune your cells to its vibratory language, and stimulate your source power. So you're doing these sessions, and you're helping people find out, do you feel you are a starseed and need higher conscious help? And are you following your soul destiny? Tell us a little bit more about your work. Do you work in person with people? Now we're all not allowed to be working, so can you do internet sessions with people?
Yes.
And tell us a little bit more about your work, your spiritual work with humans.
With beings in the form of humans, yes. We provide...
Yes.
Very, exactly right. We have a chance to work with many people worldwide, whether it's on Zoom, Skype, over the phone, or even in person for those who are local or travel through Arizona. So what you just described right now, Jeanette, is what we call our Arcturian holographic solid light language healing modality. Now, this modality is brought directly from our collective, and basically what it means is that when we do sessions or when we are in connections in a sacred space with someone, is that the person comes to us because they have a deep sense of awakening, they're on their path, they feel there's more to life, they feel there's latent gifts that comes to the surface, they have had experiences or not. They want to understand a deeper aspect of themselves and how we can bring that about and beyond, and also how to heal yourself from those past trauma that are also oftentimes create anchors. So what we do is that we allow the person to express themselves. And to that expression, it creates a gauge of communication. So for us, it's like a window of time opening. And then through each word, we can already see and analyze what point of connections it goes in the body, in the light body, in the subtle body, and then also through different timelines. So what we do is that we create an holographic energetic template of the person, an upgraded ones. And then from that template, we're going to see, do we need to go deep into healing the subconscious and the unconscious? Do we need to do working with the soul fractals to restore some aspect that come from other timelines or other expressions? And how does it integrate with the person's life to help that person to evolve according to their own essence? So we go deeper than, healing the body or releasing the emotional trauma, and all of this is recreating that holographic template. We work in that holographic way because we go way beyond the three-dimensional linear time, and it's a lot more effective for us to work in that sense. And then we create that matrix, and that matrix is reintegrated into the person energetic field, and we create this beautiful structure of light around the person in the form of the double helix. And this is how we attune their celestial vortexes that we know as the chakra system. And then from there, it anchors itself in the body through the spine, and it navigates through the organs and the functions physically and so forth. So we have witnessed so many deep sense of transformation for people when the feedback we're getting a lot from this is it has opened up so many doors, and my life has shifted. I'm able to have a much more clear sense of connections. I know I'm able to tap into, my soul team, what I've come to do. I have a much more clarity of what I need to go moving forward, and how also I tap into my manifestation, PowerPoints, because you are co-creators, co-manifestors, and it really shifts the paradigm for that person's life. For what it does, it creates also paradigm shifts for everyone who is connected to that person. It's an invitation to bring those shifts energetically, but also in their life and all aspects of their life. So I always tell the team, I said, you come and we work in that sense, and it's very easy for us to do. But the challenges I have as a conduit is to do the verbalization and how I'm going to translate that into a language and words that people can understand. So I'll give you an example. We work with this beautiful woman, and she wanted to get pregnant for the last 3-4 years, and nothing was working. So decided to work with me, and we explain the process. We have her verbal agreement that we can work with her. And we start to scan the body, and we can see that there was a deviation on the pelvic and the hip, which was connected to other source of issue that, from other timelines. And so we explain what we see, and we explain how we aspect of empowerment is very, very clearly stated. It says, this is what we can bring in form of assistance and how we can personalize that assistance to you, and with the full consciousness that ultimately it is up to you to receive it and accept the work. So this is just an aspect or an example of assistance we provide for a person now whose life has changed, because now that soul that we saw, and I told a person, I described the child, I could see the child already. And I said, now you've come to a point of junction where you are ready for it, and your body is allowing us to adjust itself to receive the soul. And as a result, she is expecting that child right now. And so it brings us so much joy and fulfillment where we see someone reaching their potential and creating project, being able to release pressure, from cultural background, family expectations, belief systems that became core values, and it's completely out of alignment with who they are. And this is an aspect that we do, is that we bring you back in alignment with who you are and what you've come to do here. It's rather to navigate through, heal what fear is about, and moving from the realm of fear to a realm of enlightenment. And the bridge in between is like working on an airplane for so many years, and every time someone take off and gain more altitude, there was always something malfunctioning or something that bring that plane back to the ground. So what is the sabotage process behind it? What is it that prevents you from getting this height and maintaining the height and moving forwards into your ladder of evolution? This is also what we do. It's a very much integrative and collaborative work, because we work with you consciously, we work with your Supreme Self, we work also with the agreement with Supreme Source to make sure that everything is in alignment for what we need to, the goal that we're reaching together. So that's an essence of what we do.
Wow. Do you have a comment, question?
It's very interesting in a kind of work that I do. I find that a saboteur, that's a pejorative label by your, but the person that prevents you from experiencing certain things grew out of a protection of your sensitive inner child. And once you can bring that to light and find out what that child really needs, then the saboteur is that's just a way of getting your attention. And so I think that when you find yourself sabotaged, be kind to the part of your voice that sabotages you and say, when did you come into my life? And what do you need anyhow? And I think that as you do that for yourself, then people that want to expand love in the conscious in the whole, over this whole planet, their consciousness also expands, and they sabotage themselves less to the degree that you sabotage yourself less. That's my reflection on one of the points you made.
Yes, beautifully said. Thank you. Exactly. It really does. And the liberation power behind it, and it's the space it creates in that individual who succeed in accepting those, those points, those belief systems, or any form of imprint that have been posed there. And then when the inner child or this inner part of themselves come to the surface to reclaim, and I'm ready to come home now, I'm ready to merge with you, and that point of unifications become the point of unity, consciousness, and oneness within someone, then there's no more barrier. Everything's shifting. Everything becomes accessible. Everything becomes a possibility moving forward. And it's just amazing, the release of energy it creates as well. It's like all this time, this condensed potential of energy put in a bottle, and then when you release it, you watch the manifestation of that release and how it can unfold and grow and blossom from there. It's very rewarding in terms of work.
And it's not just within you, like in your family system. If you have one person that seems to mess it up all the time and somehow throw it off, you just look at him the same way. And what do you really need? What's going on? So the junk stuff that seems to come down is really a gift. With all that manure, you can compost it to something higher.
Absolutely. It really yields those patterns that repeat itself into different formats, whether it's a coworker, relationships, whether it's, similarity of experiences that create the same frequency all the time. And you go, why are those loops unfolding in my life? And that's where you can decode those loops and understand what is the motivation or the energy behind it. And then this is where you can really, heal those loops and release yourself from it. And as you're releasing yourself, you're releasing the energy of everyone that were connected to those loops. And it's the same. It's the same way with unresolved issues with family members, even those who have crossed over onto the other side. Many times I've seen still cords of attachments between an adult person and a parent who transform on the other side, and there's still those cords from the soul level and to that person, and after time it attaches itself to the spine, energetically to the spine on the back, and there's very, very specific ways of how those cords attach. And that's another way that you can also work with people to help heal those relationships. Even the person is no longer in a physical embodiment, it's still possible to do that. And the energy it releases, it just benefits the soul, who can now continue into a higher sphere of learning and gain more light, and a relationship transform in the process. So it is very empowering.
So when you pass from this world, where will your soul essence go? Is it going to go to the Arcturian sphere of beings? Do they go in and out of life and death? Do they experience it the same way we do? What will happen to you since you're this hybrid human Arcturian? Will you go into the other day I had a whole evening, a whole night working with the Bardo. So I was working with the dead, and it was very profound, and I didn't get to come back and tell Sasha everything about it, but it's when you're in a different dimension, it sticks with you. There was nothing fearful or bad or negative or positive. It just was, I was just there, but the message was that, don't forget us. We're here too. Just because you can't see us doesn't mean we're not part of this human earth plane existence, that we are working with everybody. This problem that we're working on right now with the virus, and it's also, going to bring us to a world where we're going to start to appreciate more each other, and not so war-oriented. And it's going to shift us, because this is going to be a brave new world after this different paradigm, and that's part of what it is, a wake-up call. But what about you? When you pass from this world, where do you go?
Yes, that's a beautiful question. So I just want to make a parenthesis that I agree with you that we're definitely shifting majorly, and this is something that has been in the making for a long time. And as also, it's a huge invitation to return to the sacredness of life and respect life in all aspects. And so whether it's farm animals, the way we treat the earth, the way we treat your body, ourselves, each other, it's a huge return to the sacredness of reverence for all life. So we're completely in agreement with this. Where do I go once my earthly journey is completed? I have a long way to go. I can see that. It told me I have a lot of work in front of me, which is great. So I'm here for a long time, many years to come. But when the time comes to leave this earth plane, depending on what I choose to have, I can have the opportunity to bring my body. We're coming into a place where we're defining what it means to transform. We're going to reach a point where if you want to bring your body and transform your carbon-based body into a body of light, you can and bring it with you. So at this point, one thing I can tell you right now is that I'm going to go back to with Supreme Source permission, with Creator permission, I'm going to go back to my star family. That yearning to return to that emanation is very strong in me. At the same time, my attachment to the earth and to what we're here to do is also equally strong, which is why I'm still here. And then in that sense, I know that I'm going to go back to my star family, and that's the point. I'm going to go back with them and then go through our Stargate and return to our star system. And then from there, we can see what would be the next level of assignment and what is the next level evolution of my soul I will want to decide to do. That will be up to me at that point. I do not know. That will depend on which spheres of evolution I want to continue on. Would I want to return to be formless? It's possible. Will I stay within the Arcturian star system? I think I might for a while, and then go back, to a more sense of reunion into just being pure energy in action. I feel like could be another possibility, but that's a very rational aspect of myself telling you what will my soul decide to go on in the sphere of existence. This is what I'm sensing right now, right here in 2020. When the time comes and the choices presented to me, I may make different choices. But as of right now, this is what I'm sensing.
Do you have any bonds with anybody that's already passed over that you want to maintain?
Yes, I have conscious connections I have discovered a few of my guides. When I was 13 of age, one of my guides came to me and introduced himself. And I created a very close bond with that guide in particular. And that guide has made it clear that it will be with me during my entire earthly life journey. And so one thing I've learned from what the soul goes through is that it comes to the point where the soul gains so much light and evolution that the way they interact with us shifts. It doesn't remain the same way as we think. There's not really an attachment to third world density or third dimensional density. It's more of a connections with those, that we are part of the same soul groups or the groups that we're evolving into. It really shifts, because if a soul stay attached to the third density, and they become earthbound and then they get stuck. So, and that's not the goal. So all of my guides have evolved to a point that in order for me to connect with them, I have to raise my frequency, and it has to be done in a certain way for these point of connections with them. Other guides changes as you grow. I have new guides that came through. I have guardians that have chosen to stay. I have my collective, and all of us on the planet, you have what we lovingly call your team of light. Get to know them, get to know who are come with you, whether they're not physically being involved with your eyes. They're very palpable and you can commune with them. There are also those who are in incarnation with you on the planet. There's a few people who I am deeply, deeply connected at the heart and the soul level to them, and they are in physical embodiment. And we are aware of this, so we are connected in many ways. So the word connections takes so much a multidimensional aspects that if you feel the blessing.
Oh, we're out of time. Oh, goodness.